20th Board of Selectmen meeting. We will start off, as we always do, with a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of announcements here. Board and committee openings, we just have a couple left. Board of Health, there's one opening. And the Finance and Advisory Committee, there's also an opening. Put a plug for both of these boards, they're both important. The Finance and Advisory Committee, I think, is especially important, plays a big role at our town meeting, both in the fall and the spring, and really acts as advisors to us, the residents of Hamilton, in terms of not only what's going on fiscally in town, but other items as well. So it's a really important committee, and I hope people will consider getting involved.
Just to follow on that, we did have an applicant come in late in the week. Actually, that's not totally true. They have voiced their interest to the chairman, but they haven't supplied an application yet, so we're hoping to have an applicant for you soon to consider.
Good. Okay, great. Let's see, discount rain barrel program pickup will be at the DPW yard on May 18th from 8 to 12. Anyone who has ordered...
Past tense was. I don't know.
Oh, was.
My fault.
It's all right.
Yeah, that's right. We're the 20th. Okay, so I hope everybody got their barrel.
They did. I was there.
And then now is the time we have for public comment. If anyone would like to make a public comment about anything for about 3 minutes or so. Yeah, feel free. If you could just come up to this podium and introduce yourself. These microphones work for the televisions at home.
Great. Bill Kerr, Chewbacca Road in Hamilton. Been there since dirt. I just want to express, I know you guys are busy, got a lot to get through, so I just want to do a real quick sort of raising of a red flag of concern that I personally have, but then also I am not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for a great number. I have over 200 people on a mailing list that have been contacting me. I have people calling me out of the blue about the property 133 Essex Street. We are really concerned that this property be preserved if possible. We've been talking a lot with the folks at Essex Greenbelt and other places like that. But our main concern is that this is a jewel, this is a representative piece of property for the town of Hamilton. That's why a lot of people live here. There's contiguous trail systems that go through. And in that regard, we understood that there was at one time, a previous member of the board had raised the issue of perhaps opening up those trails with a lawsuit that they shut off, we think, illegally. And we would like to see that continued. But also, more generally speaking, I am, 100% understand that the Riches own the property. They could do with it what they like. But there is also a town here, and that we would like to see both sides work to the best of the ability so that everybody's happy. There's been some offers made, we know, and there's some looking at the land from a lot of different positions. But we would like to, in rhetorical question here, want to know what you guys, since you're working for the town, are doing to preserve the quality of this town, and in particular, this piece of property. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Kevin?
Kevin Kaminsky, 550 Highland. For those of you who don't know me, I am the state's selected curator of the Dodge House located in Bradley Palmer State Park. I should let you know that a legal definition of a curator has two parts. One is a presenter of like artifacts or arts or paintings or something of cultural importance, and the other is a legal guardian of an asset. So I just wanted to say that this weekend, Friday and Saturday, I'm having an open house.
Okay.
1 to 4. Board's welcome. Any citizens of Hamilton, or any citizens of the state, are welcome to come over. That's it. Have a good night, folks.
Thank
That
you.
Saturday,
Kevin.
Kevin? I'm sorry.
Friday and Saturday,
Friday and Saturday.
1 to 4.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything? No? Okay. Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Al DeGroot, Shabaka Road. And I just want to reiterate what Bill said, and the jewel, the character of our community is of incredible value to all of us, whether you live abutting the property or not. The community is a better place with green space. It defines us at this point, and if we don't find ways to help support and preserve the green space, we will lose our character. We'll lose some of our heart, in my opinion. And because of the farm stand facing, the way this property is situated, the way it is contiguous with Shabaka Woods, the farm stand being the face of it, when people drive down 22, the character, the sense of rural nature of our town will be lost. Those are the gems and the jewels that make our town Hamilton, that I've lived here for 33 years, and I'm very fortunate to have Shabaka Woods behind my house. It's no pun intended, but it strikes me as funny. It's a lot of riches back there, and I think whatever the town can do to help support conservation groups to buy that land. And ultimately, I'm an optimist and believe good things. I think once it starts being tried to be developed, it's going to be just like Shabaka Woods, and it's not going to perk, and they're not going to be able to do enough buildable lots to make it viable for the price they want to pay. But let's try and be proactive and help the direction of buying and purchasing that land.
Great. Thank you very much. Sure. Would anybody, Sean, you had a question, or you wanted to bring something up about this, and Rosie, you have a question about this topic?
Yeah, so to Bill, I'm kind of your guy on the board now to talk to, so we can give contact information later, but we're looking for that 20 years of corporate action. You guys have done a lot of the legwork for that.
So there's a lot of it out there. I don't know where it's disappeared to, but Gordon College has a great archive.
You just mind coming up here?
Oh, yeah,
Just so people at home
Yeah,
can hear.
no, that's good. Gordon College has a great archive system. I've been in there, and I've got stuff that's dated back to 1956, starting with the Prince Mayor Estate, and you can actually see the maps, and you can see the way those trails have been maintained for over 40 years, corporately maintained, both by Gordon College and by other groups that have gone through there. And I don't know if you know this, but for example, the original student housing was on the other side of Beck Pond, and that trail system that's been closed off with those incredibly ugly Jersey barriers used to be a road that went all the way around Beck Pond. It came out at Silas Nary's house. He owns the property at the back side of it. By the way, Silas has called me up just before I came over here and said he wanted to make sure that his voice was stated, that he's really interested in seeing that not developed into houses. So yeah, there's a ton of data out there. Also, Manchester has a lot of stuff. We've had contact with the folks down in Manchester. I forget her name right now. My memory's horrible, but fortunately we have the data. So a lot of it. Scott has a lot of stuff we passed on to him, but I'm 100% sure that we can find corporate use of that land for well over 20 years.
Perfect, 'cause
more like 40.
I think right now we're at about 18 years, and 20 is the golden number
Yeah,
for
oh yeah.
us.
Yeah, we can
So
hit that.
we'll talk offline.
Got it.
And we'll catch up, and we'll make sure that we're filling that gap that we're missing, hopefully.
Yep, letters of, all kinds of letters and photos and maps and all that stuff.
Okay.
Got tons of it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, sure. And
So I just wanted to say also, in terms of Tobacco Woods and this property, I wholeheartedly support it, and I can speak for myself, but I'm the great sort of conservationist. I'm the Tobacco Woods Management Committee liaison, and going to do everything we can to see if we can come to an amicable solution that will satisfy both parties. So we hear you.
I just would like to say also that it would be best if they could purchase the land as opposed to going litigation. That's not a good way to travel. So if you can come to some agreement and find a way to fund it, that's probably the way to go. I don't know if a citizen's petition would be an option, bringing it to town meeting and having the people vote on it. I'm not sure if that would be, the best way to go, but I would not advise litigation. I just don't think it's, I don't think it's a good way to go. Stay away from litigation if you can.
My understanding is the litigation is to keep the trails open so they can't come out and kick us off the trails that have been being used for so many generations, not litigation that they shouldn't be able to sell the land.
I'm sorry, could you repeat
You just
that?
mind coming up here, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Is that accurate?
Yes, that's good.
So my understanding is any litigation that's been spoken of is not to stop them from selling the land. The land is for sale. We all know it's for
Right, but
sale.
when a buyer comes along and sees that there's litigation involved, you're hurting the prospect of the landowner. So
Well-
what I'm saying is I think it's best if they can find a solution that doesn't involve litigation, is what I'm
so
suggesting.
allowing, the simple solution is for them to say, until this property is sold and closed on, you're welcome to use the trails, as opposed to putting no trespassing signs.
Have
And
you talked to them about that?
I know people have. I have not personally.
Well, maybe that would be another avenue, is to reestablish some kind of connection with the owners and let them know. Maybe it's,
Do you want to speak to this, Bill? You know a lot more.
Actually, since this isn't an agenda item, we can't kind of have the back and forth, I'm afraid. But Sean is the liaison, and we'll be in communication with you all to help get through this.
Thank you.
Clarification, is this an agenda item moving forward tonight?
No,
Be discussed?
no, it's not on the agenda for tonight.
The item's been previously discussed in executive session as, it was protected in executive session because of it regarded strategy towards potential litigation. Justifiably, that's where the discussion remains until the Board of Selectmen votes to take it out of there. So actually, some of this discussion is a little bit, premature until the board has a conversation amongst itself. So.
Given that many of you are new.
Would you, I'm sorry, would you just mind
Yeah.
coming up so the people at home can hear? Thank you.
No problem. My name is Judy Kushner DeGroot. I'm at 193 Chabaco. So I guess some of you are new, right? I see, I don't come often, but it looks like new. Is it possible to ask you and for you to respond like Rosemary said, she's a real supporter of the Chabaco Woods and she's going to be doing what she can to really preserve them and protect it from development? Can I hear from each of you where you stand on it right now? Is that okay?
Not right now, we can't,
No?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in my role as with the Tobacco Woods Committee, I'm the Tobacco Woods Management Committee. I'm involved there, and I just want you to know that I'm going to do all I can to help the whole situation, but it's not something that I can make a decision on by myself.
Nancy, yes.
Real quick. Nancy Peterson, 111 Chabaco Road. I live next to Bill. So I just want to reiterate my strong feelings for preserving this beautiful property, for farmland, for all the trails that are there. And I know there's conservation efforts going on. I think the issue is that the owners want to get more for it than conservation is, it's worth. That's the issue. So, and we do want to keep the trails open. It was really awful when they put up no trespassing signs and started literally kicking people off. That's what was going on. I think that's why the whole litigation thing got started. So anyway, I think it's just really important that we have your strong support for conserving this property, fantastic property. So we have, and there's a lot of people from all over that are very strongly in support of this. It's a real sort of touch point with people to think that that would be developed into something different.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Duke C. or Essex Street. I would say if the town could get it, we can lease it to a farmer and let the garden grow.
It's a great idea. All right. Well, thank you all. Now we move on to the Selectmen and Town Manager reports. Thanks, guys. All right. Thank you. Good night. Rosie, would you like to start off?
Sure. So I've spent the last couple of weeks, and it seems like 5 minutes, just touching base with the with my assignments here. So Tobacco Woods Management Committee, I've reached out to the person. The Hamilton Affordable Housing Trust, I spoke with the chair, and we had a nice conversation about future plans and things that might be in the works, and I really am looking forward to being involved with them. They sound like a great group of people. I spoke with the director of the Hamilton Foundation, who gave me the history and the current status of the Hamilton Foundation. What a great opportunity to keep your financial generosity close to home. There are a lot of people in town who are needing our support, and so I strongly advocate for keeping the care local. And then finally, I did meet with the Patton Homestead nonprofit chair, I guess she's a chair, Corinne Kale. We had a nice conversation about potential uses for the Patton property, and I think one of the things that I thought was most productive about our meeting is that we talked about things outside the box, and that was a very mutually helpful conversation. And I think going forward, I'm looking forward to working with them and thinking about ways to make the Patton Homestead profitable, as well as a community asset. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I went to the street fair yesterday. Boy, that was fun. It was so fun. Met so many people there. And so that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. Sean?
I'll kind of piggyback on Rosie's comment on the street fair. It was great, kind of a first event. I hope we do it annually, and we had a few, I think, vendors back out, the food truck and a beer truck and stuff like that. Hopefully they'll come back next year and make it a little more robust, but it was great. Also Sunday, excuse me, was the police memorial at the Hamilton Cemetery. As always, a really top-notch job by our police department, and a really nice morning. The sun came out for us for a little while anyway, until it rained, but we missed the rain, so that worked out good. Also, the CPC met just recently, and we discussed our open grants. We have a handful of them that we're kind of closing out. One is the Patton Park Cannons, which if you haven't been into Patton Park recently, the cannons are back now. New wheels, and the cannons have been refurbished. They look great. The Historical Society Pictorial Collection, there's a few dollars left in that for photographing some of the pictorial collection. The Patton Estate roof replacement exterior restoration is complete. The Brooks House renovations, that's what the Housing Authority is complete, and actually we got quite a bit of money back from that because their estimates came under. The Town Hall OPM money was used. The knotweed removal program, that's Weaver Pond at Patton Park. I think they have, and maybe Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are spraying or have sprayed some herbicide in the pond to help with some of the invasive species, and then sometime in August they'll hydro rake it, which is, if you've got small kids, they love to watch that. There's kind of a boat with a big rake underneath it that they rake all the weeds out with. My kids love it. Town Hall OPM, let's see, Affordable Housing Trust grants. We're getting some money back because those weren't used. The master plan housing element with the planning board is underway. The Patton Park basketball courts are in now, and the 2 new hoops. And we also talked about an annual public hearing. The CPC, as part of their charter with the state, has to do an annual public hearing. Last year, We had Tom Catalano and the board come to one of our Board of Selectmen meetings, and they're wondering if we can do a similar type of thing and maybe take a half hour out of the Board of Selectmen meeting and do kind of a joint meeting where the CPC talks about its open grants and anything that's upcoming, and does a little kind of a presentation about the CPC, so they have their annual public hearing kind of and check it off the list. So I'm kind of asking you now, Jeff, to consider it,
Sure.
and then we can talk offline, or you can talk to Jay Butler about it. But we'd like to do
Okay.
it sometime in the next couple months. No real rush on it, but keep it in
Okay,
mind.
great.
Perfect.
Great.
That's
Yeah.
it for me.
I'm going to just touch base on the downtown fair. It was a lot of fun, but I wish the beer garden was there. I think it would have attracted a lot more people, but it was really fun. And I did go also to the police commemoration. It was a week-long celebration, and culminating in the ceremony at 9:00 a.m. at Hamilton Cemetery, where we remembered Lieutenant Bobby Nyland, Sergeant Robert Smith, and Officer Ed Hopping, who had passed away in the past year. So it was very moving, and I was glad that we had that. Rosie and I met with our energy manager, Vicki Massoni, and we had a really good meeting. She told us a lot about the opportunities that are out there for us as a designated green community. That means we have access to a variety of grants, free professional consulting, other tools and services that can help us with energy savings, funding for solar applications, energy mitigation for municipal buildings, water mitigation monies, that is due to climate or other factors that affect our water quality and access. So I think if we got her more involved, and maybe the town hall building project as well, because she did state that now would be the time to have National Grid come in and do their free analysis, where they give, they'll go over the whole building and then give us ideas on the best ways to mitigate energy efficient, or to enhance energy efficiencies, and give us ideas on how we can actually move forward with that. And it's free, and we're paying them, so we might as well get their ideas. Let's see. Also, Vicki's worked closely for many municipalities and their capital committees. She identifies which grants are available to them for a variety of activities, including action grants, which are specifically to help fund our water issues and remediation through municipal vulnerability program that Joe's working on right now. He's processing it for the town. And so not only energy, but water. If we can get some water mitigation money for our new source, possibly off of Chabaco Road, that's money we can use. That's our tax money coming back to work for us. And let's see if there was anything else. I think that's it for her. I did speak with the Board of Health Director, the Chair, Dave Smith, and we're concerned that some of the water facts on quality and quantity aren't well known enough, and it's leading to a lot of people speculating about our waters. So we were thinking, Bill Smith wants to spearhead a written piece.
David Smith.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, David Smith?
Yes, David Smith. He's the chairman of the Board of Health. And he wants to open up a line of communication directly to the people, but so he would like something that has the imprimatur of the town. So we were thinking, he's going to write up a piece, and I would take a look at it and add something to it, and then someone else would add to it. And maybe we could have that go on the town website so people that have questions about the water can get the truth, based on facts and reality, as opposed to, fear.
Right.
So that was another thing that is in the works. And then finally, we met with Joe, David Wanger and I. David Wanger is on the FinCom, regarding a mediation unit for the people of this town, so that we don't always have to go to litigation. In fact, maybe this land situation might be a perfect test case for mediation. Get all the parties together. Let's find out where everyone stands and see if there's middle ground. I just think there's just been too much litigation, and the costs have gone through the roof over the last 3 years. Not so bad in this fiscal year, but for the couple prior fiscal years, it actually tripled at one point, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for mediation, and I think we can make some headway with that. Thank you, Joe.
Good.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Darcy. Bill,
You have advertised a public hearing for the poll hearing at 7:30, so it's almost 7:30.
Okay.
I think you should probably, we can move on, take that and come back to this.
Yeah, you want to do that?
A little laryngitis, so
Oh, wow, okay.
that much tonight.
All right, so where is the poll hearing? All right, so we'll get to the rest of the selectmen and town manager's report later on. We're going to jump on the agenda to the 7:30 poll hearing, which is Willow Street, National Grid to install one JO pole on Willow Street, National Grid to install one JO pole and anchor and all appurtenances in Willow Street. Yeah, thanks for that.
Sabita Mahaber Shihi, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Mass. This is to provide service to the gas monitoring station that was installed there last year, I believe.
That's it.
So- All right. And I think the only thing I can think of is
Make a motion?
to approve. Yeah, go ahead.
I asked her a couple of questions before the meeting, but just wanted to let everybody know. So currently, there is a box across the street from, was it Sargent Automotive and stuff, Asbury Street Motors there. And I had asked her if it was a new pole because there hadn't been one there previously, and it is a new pole for that equipment there. They just, because of the, I can't think of the word, the strike with National Grid, they hadn't installed it. So this is kind of backfilling that. And now, will the line go from the side of the street over and back again?
It will go across once.
Across once.
And they would have a meter on that side, a meter pedestal to be served.
Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Is this something that you need to notify residents about? Will it be intrusive to residents at all?
The petition hearing should have done that.
Okay.
And it shouldn't be because there's a tree line there, there's a fence, a tree line, and we're putting in a shorter pole. It's only a service pole.
Okay.
Great.
What was the policy? I thought we said a policy about every poll hearing, they're going to give us an update on the...
Yeah, so, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe reached out to Verizon, asked them to come, but I don't think he heard back from them.
Yeah, we did ask them to come. They didn't, they acknowledged that they had been notified of the hearing. They didn't say whether they were coming. I think, yeah, there you go.
Oh, hey.
There you go. Thanks for making yourself known. Appreciate it. There we go.
Perfect.
That was what you guys were looking for, so yeah, they're both here.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yes.
Excellent.
Come on up.
If you wouldn't mind just coming up. So I guess if I can explain a little bit, the reason why you're here tonight is because we've had some issues over the last year or so with double poles in town and getting Comcast, Verizon and stuff off these joint operated poles. So we kind of thought if we have these poll hearings, we kind of wanted all the cooks in the kitchen to make sure everybody's on the same page about timelines and stuff like that. So that's why we requested your presence here tonight, just to make sure you're aware of it and that, once we get if we have fire or some other thing from the town, that we get that off in a timely manner, and then you guys can get rid of the double poles, et cetera. And basically, that's why we wanted you here tonight.
It's an issue in almost every town.
Right. And so I think
Can we get his name for the record?
Yeah.
My name is Steve Bigley. I work for Utility Consultant Synergetics, and I'm here to represent Verizon New England.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, and like you said, it's a common problem, and we just were kind of getting sick of it. So we made a policy that we wanted to get probably everybody in here to make sure that those things didn't keep happening in town. So we appreciate you coming.
Okay, I'll bring that back to Verizon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick question. So this installation of this new pole won't require removal of any other poles?
No, it will not.
So there won't be a creation of a double pole situation in this case,
Right.
which is good news.
Right.
We do know that there's about 17 double poles left existing in town. It appears that the remaining, in a couple of cases, the remaining equipment might be ours.
Right.
And in a couple of cases, it might be Comcast, who is not here tonight. So,
Right.
but this isn't going to create that situation on Willow Street, so Willow Ave. So I think that you guys are probably clear
Yeah,
to
I'm
do what
fine.
you want to
Since
do.
it's a new pole, I'm fine with moving forward to it. My only issue would be if there was a double pole situation, so.
All right,
Okay. All right, that answers my question. Thank you.
good, okay. All right, so is this something we vote on?
I think.
Yeah, so Darcy made a motion,
Made a
she started
motion?
to.
Okay,
Yes, that we agree,
Approve.
thank you.
Yep.
That the Willow Street National Grid can install a 1J pole on Willow Street, to install 1 JO pole and anchor and all appurtenances on Willow Street.
Second.
any further discussion on it? All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous.
Thank you for
Great.
your help.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
Thank you for
tonight.
coming tonight.
All right, we're going to switch back. Bill, you have laryngitis. Do you have anything you want to say real quick?
I'd met with Gretel Clark for a while on waste reduction, so
Okay.
I'd like to dial that up because I think she's got some great ideas to save costs and as well do the right thing in recycling and compost. So, so I think costs are going to continue to go up, and we need to find a way to. So she's got some great suggestions. I want to get in front of the board so we can discuss it over the next month. So if we can do the next meeting or the week after, I think we're ready to have some robust dialogue on that.
Good, okay.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All I had, kind of a repeat on the police memorial. What a nice event. I wanted to thank Russ Stevens and Stephen Trepanier. He was kind of the MC of the event, and the American Legion also helps out put that together. So, and it was a really nice turnout, which was nice to see. Also attended the downtown festival. Really fabulous, great turnout. I did meet this is a great example of where some private individuals in town who are merchants worked very hard to put this together with Ardor Fox, who works here at Town Hall. So between the three of them and over a 6-week period of time, they were able to pull this off and did a really nice job, I think. And the good news is it's something fairly easy to do, fairly inexpensive to do, so hopefully it is something we can do more often, and more often maybe even than just once a year. So so I just wanted to mention that. So thank you, Dor.
Jeff, I just wanted to mention, I was amazed at how the street was just clean in like an hour. I was so impressed.
Afterwards?
Yeah, so it was
yeah.
great.
Oh,
Really
good.
good work.
Good. Veterans Affairs had a meeting last week. We're in discussion right now to renew the contract with the Veterans Affairs officer who's there, Karen Tyler. Working on right now on her review and that whole process. So for anybody that's at home, that's a veteran that has input on the services that have been provided by the Eastern Essex Veterans Affairs Office, I really would appreciate input. It's something hard for us to get. And then finally, just Joe, Rosemary, and I met the off Monday last week to prepare for tonight's meeting. The agenda had some good discussions. We'll meet again next Monday, and then if it doesn't matter to you guys, what's that?
Probably have to do Tuesday.
Is it
Monday's a
Tuesday?
holiday.
Is it a holiday? Okay. Would love to have somebody come with me, so I'll reach out and we'll get in a routine where we rotate people in and out. So that's all I had. Joe, I skipped you the last time.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm actually gonna go a little quicker this time. A couple things I want to let you know. I have finished my town manager report today. It's a little more difficult getting to this when I don't have anybody in the office with me.
Right.
It's killing me.
Right.
An update on that. We have 4 interviews scheduled for this week. I've asked our treasurer collector, Cheryl Booth, and the administrative assistant to the police department, Christine Larkham, to kind of serve as a screening committee. They've reviewed, we had over 50 applicants so far. I had a couple more since I gave them the resumes, and they chose 6. 4 have accepted invitations to interview, and they'll be interviewing them this week. We've got several more that we can always go deeper if we need to, but we'll start with those 4. If they put forward 2 or 3 that they think are worthy, I'll do final interviews and hopefully select someone sooner than later. I wanted to let everybody know in the town, particularly on the board, that next Thursday and Friday, that'd be May 30th, 31st, I will be out of town on town business, though. I'm going to attend the Mass Municipal Association Managers Spring Conference, and to try to make sure the office is opened, I have arranged for some folks in other departments to pitch in for an hour or 2 here or there, so that the town manager's office is open. People can still come in, leave questions, complaints, all the like, with whoever is there at the desk, and they'll pass them on to me. I'll be available by phone and email if something comes up that needs my immediate attention. I was going to mention that I met with Darcy and David, but she did that already. Fire Chief Ray Brunette and I went today to Wenham and met with the chief and captain in that department to talk about their early ambulance program. This program does have some promise for us, but it's going to require a good deal more investigation. Ray has agreed to undertake a bulk of that, and as we get some more information, we'll probably seek to come before the board to share with you where we're at. A couple things to note up front. Wenham, when they started the process to become to provide basic life support ambulance service in town, was already a level 5 or a class 5 rather ambulance license with the state. We are not. We're actually just in the process of that now. So that's going to lengthen our time and our expense up front. They also were fortunate in that when they went to buy some equipment, they were able to find a used ambulance for a really good price. So our expenses might be more than what theirs were to start out things, but we still think there's enough potential there. And additionally, they also had already almost 20 of their call firefighters certified as EMTs. We only currently have about 10. So we need to do quite a bit more training in order to be able to take that on, because if you don't have that number, you're going to burn out the people that you have trying to run an ambulance. So there's a lot of things for us to do, but it's definitely worth investigating. It'll probably take a while to do, but we are actively engaged in that now. That's great. Wanted to let the board know that we were informed by National Grid late last week that on May 28th, between the hours of 11:59 p.m. or midnight and 4 a.m., they will be doing a voluntary outage that will affect about 140 homes. This is part of National Grid's efforts to improve their system, install new equipment that will make us more resilient and keep us from having power outages. It will only affect about 140 customers. They have notified each of those customers by mail, and you have a copy of the letter that went out to those folks in your second packets that I left you today. And the other thing I wanted to let you know that I gave you is a copy of the North Shore Coalition. So North Shore Coalition is an extension of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. It's a group of mayors and managers from North Shore communities, and we meet every 6 to 8 weeks or so. And this document you have here is a transportation vision for the North Shore. It comes with guiding principles and goals and action steps. The MAPC has asked that we comment on these, kind of identify the areas that we'd be able to support. So typically, a lot of times these municipalities the town manager or the mayor will just make that comment, but I'm asking you folks to take a look at it, share with me your thoughts on what you think that, I've got my thoughts, but I definitely want to collate those with yours before I respond back to MAPC. And they're shooting for a mid or late summer press event to let people know that the North Shore region is kind of unifying what its goals for regional transportation network are. So if you can get me your thoughts, we could put it on an agenda for a future meeting, or you can just provide me, what your thoughts are on the document by email, and I'll put that together to comment back to them.
Great.
So the whole report will be up online tomorrow, I hope.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
On the National Grid outages, is this, when they came in last time and did their presentation, is this some of those closure loop things, or I can't think of what they called them?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Like on Woodbury and somewhere else they were doing it?
Yeah, but in some of those places, I think they had a little bit of ability to not have to take down, but in this particular instance, They have to take down about 140 homes, but they're trying to do it at a time of the night when it won't affect very many people.
Right.
They're making sure to notify everybody, so, keep your refrigerators closed, things like that. So
Right.
your
Right,
Those
and
goods don't
yeah,
melt.
and then I guess, that, this outage is a good thing,
Yeah.
right? We're improving the system,
Right.
so, or we're not, National Grid's listening to us now and improving the system.
Okay. All right, on to the consent agenda. We've got a few here, and if anybody wants to put a hold on any of them, just let me know, and we'll put that aside and vote on it independently. For the consent agenda tonight, we have approve minutes from the Board of Selectmen regular meeting and executive session on April 24th, 2019. Appoint Jack Lawrence to the Town Hall Building Committee. Appoint Mary Lee Lester to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term. Appoint David Smith to the Hamilton Affordable Housing Trust for a 2-year term. Request of the Girl Scouts to have use of the Council on Aging building as a backup location for their scheduled potluck event on Saturday, June 4th from 4:40 to 6:30 p.m. June 1st, sorry, what did I say? 4th. The Summer Concert Committee requests permission to post the Sundays in Patton Park concert banner on Bay Road from June 17th through August 11th, 2019. Family Promises requests the use of Patton Park for their Cardboard City event on August 3rd, 2019 for an overnight fundraiser to help reduce family homelessness. So that is the consent agenda. Does anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, and I just have one question on, not really against Jack, but just kind of a clarifying question for the Town Hall Building Committee. We previously had, Jeff, you and Allison on that committee, and now Bill's on it. Are we?
Bill and I and Jack will make it. We'll make it, I think, total 7.
Okay, I just wasn't sure the number because we had lost.
Yeah.
Just to switch around, I want to make sure we had everybody that we needed and include Jack in the mix as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I second.
Second, okay.
Can I ask a question? Would I be able to speak?
Yes.
Concert, I didn't speak in the beginning because there were so many other people.
Oh, what, is this about the concerts in the park?
Yes, just to give those posters out that I had said I would bring
Yeah,
last time.
that's fine.
All right, let us finish voting, and then just
Thank you.
for 1 second, yeah, the 3-minute part is the best part to do that in. All right, so it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous? Okay, yeah, if you'd like to, real quick.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for your time. This is Jeannie Moran from 21 Garfield Avenue, and I brought those posters I wanted to pass out to you. And I also want to say quickly that our committee met, and we would very much like to rejoin the Parks and Rec program. I know there's details to work out on that. Community House is an agreement as well. And we have spoken briefly to Sean Timmons, and 2 of us are planning to attend the June 11th Parks and Rec meeting, so we can sort of, make a proposal and talk about what we might do in the future, and maybe join up with some of these hot button things like, recycling. We're all great recyclers in our committee. Joy of composting, could be a great topic, but I think it would be a great time for us to join up and do some great things together and come back, and also hopefully to get into this wonderful Parks and Rec program. So thank you.
Great, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great thing you do. Thank you.
Nice to see you again. Thanks.
Thanks, Gene.
Do you know you should get that band who played at the block party? They were good.
Oh, no, I came on their break and I missed them. Oh, wait. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gene. Okay, now on to the agenda. We're actually on time. First off on the agenda is an introduction from the new Hamilton Wenham Library Director, Kim Butler. Kim, are you here? Great.
So I just, my name's Kim Butler. I'm the new director over at the Hamilton Wenham Public Library. So I just wanted to come by and say hi and put some names and faces together. I started at the end of April. I've spent the last 3-ish weeks just getting to know staff, getting to know patrons in the building. It is a wonderful staff over there. Everybody's been very welcoming and very kind and answering all my questions. So I guess a little bit about me, if anybody wants to know. I spent 13 years. I started my career at the Newburyport Public Library. I worked just about every department you could think of. I did circulation, I did reference. I was a children's librarian for a long period of time. And I then switched over to the Amesbury Public Library, and I was there for 5 years as their assistant director. And I live in Amesbury with my husband and my stepdaughter and our doggie. But yeah, anybody come on by. My office is up on the 2nd floor. Come and say hi. I can give you a tour if you haven't been in a while. Welcome anytime.
Welcome to
Thank
Hamilton.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the next item is a water abatement request.
You should have had copies of this in your packet. This was a standard, so that according to the Department of Public Works Director, Tim Olson, he reviewed this and he's recommending that you take favorable action on it. This is a case where there's a leak in the pipe that wasn't determined, wasn't found or noticed until they got a water bill that was quite a bit larger than their usual usage. A look at the historic usage, and then the usage following the repair of the leak confirms that this was not really water that they used, it was the water that was lost. So he's made a recommendation for the allowable abatement there, and they haven't had an issue with their water usage since then, so it's up to you.
That's right, we've done these before, makes sense, but the only note I think is that, I think Ed Howard came in with a little dye pack. It shows you the value of checking your leaky toilets, because it's
Yeah.
57,000 gallons of water through one leaky toilet, so we need to make sure that we
I don't think that was a leaky toilet.
That's what it says, though. That's what I understand.
Toilet?
That's what the thing says, bold in italics. So.
Resident identified the cause of a large water bill due to a leaky toilet. Toilet was repaired and the reading went back to normal.
So if that it was indeed the case, this is correctly written, but regardless how many gallons, it's important to, it's a 5-cent test. It saves
Right.
Yep.
$400, so.
Yeah.
Well, thousands of gallons of
Yeah,
water.
and thousands of gallons of water.
That's the thing that I worry about most.
Did we end up looking into putting those in?
I believe Tim had ordered the toilet test kits, so
Oh, good.
I think we notified people in the last bill that, I'll double check, but I believe we were going to notify people in the last bill that they could get the test from the town hall if they, from the water department if they needed it.
So that's too bad that there isn't a mechanism to be able to discern this sort of enormous loss before your water bill comes in. Was this particular leak, was it a water main, or was it their water pipe or our water pipes?
I believe it was in their.
This is their toilet
Yeah.
tank.
Their toilet tank.
Toilet was just running.
Toilet was just running.
And the plumber provided an invoice showing that he fixed it.
I would say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, from people who've been on the board for a while, most of these abatements are leaky toilets, a lot of times.
That's correct. Ones we've seen so
The ones
far.
that we've mostly seen have been leaky.
There was one that was outside, it was
Been a couple burst
frozen,
pipes
and then they-
outside or
yeah.
something like that, something in the ground, but I would say 90% of them are more leaky toilets.
But they do catch them after the first bill, so.
Right.
We don't really see them go on and on.
Right.
No, I think, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So I'll make a motion to approve the water abatement request for
Second.
289 Asbury Street.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Darcy. All right. Any further discussion?
I just kind of a general comment. I wonder if we could sort of think about some way in the future to get people to attend to these things sooner. I mean, that's
What if we clue them in? If their toilet's making noises, then they should come down and get a...
Or if it's running.
That's what I mean, when it's making
Right.
noises when it runs, I mean, doesn't that drive you crazy? And,
Right.
and if it doesn't fix itself...
Right.
call
But you,
the
so,
plumber.
so you want to be fair to people, and an insensible loss
Yeah.
is one thing.
I don't know how automated the bill system is in terms of, I don't know how automated it is, so in terms of how the meter's read, if it goes up, 50%, does any sort of alarms
Trigger
or
or
bells or
something.
whistles go? I have no idea how sophisticated it is, but maybe it's a question for Tim.
Yeah.
It's maybe not
At some
possible, but I
point.
might as well ask him if it's,
Right,
rather
exactly.
than wait till the quarterly bill, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thank you. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Discussion's over. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, excellent, unanimous.
I'll leave this here for each of you to initial with the minutes. This page here, just initial it. That into the packet so that can be approved.
Okay, the next item here is just got some news on the way to this meeting. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking with Joe. Sorry, for those at home, the next item on the agenda is to vote on appointing a member to the Capital Committee that we have in town. We did just get information from our town attorney that I think is important for everybody to take a look at, for you all to see, before we make a vote on it, unfortunately.
Do you want me to pass it down?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you want to let the board take a
Couple minutes,
Well, do you want to give it a couple minutes, or do you want to wait until?
the next meeting.
It's up to you.
I think we have time. Is that all right, Mr. Chair?
At what point did we decide what organizational structure we were going to use for this capital committee? Where's the discussion? Was there a discussion on that? Did the Board of Selectmen vote on any of that at any time?
This presupposes a certain structure.
I think it's based on the vote that the previous board took to establish the capital committee back in March. The supposition is based on that organizational structure. The board had discussed, at least in general terms, having a capital committee, and one of their members had proposed a structure that the board voted on.
Okay, well, this is a new board, and maybe we should think about how we want the charge and the structure to look like. For example, the Board of Selectmen, on both organizational structures that are allowed, both of those structures have the Board of Selectmen, it's hierarchical. So what would happen is that you can either have a hybrid system, which we can develop along the way as we go, but we can start out with the Board of Selectmen and you, and then there would be the capital committee. But in the meantime, we can also bring in other people, some department heads, the DPW, the fire chief, all the people that have capital needs, and make them part of the program, make them part of the...
So, I mean, may I just, so there aren't only a couple of different ways to do a capital committee. I mean, state law doesn't require you to follow a certain prescribed method.
Right.
I know that the information you got from the Finance Advisory Committees Association is helpful to finance committees, to help them when they are taking the lead to help communities organize a capital committee. The town's bylaws, in particular the Town Manager Act, puts it on the town manager to create a capital committee, a capital plan, a 5-year capital plan and an annual capital plan. The idea for this committee came out of me asking the Board of Selectmen that we appoint some kind of a committee to help me with that, because I didn't think that myself sitting in a room with the department heads and having them tussle over whose needs were more important.
No, you need everybody's
I wanted
input.
more community input. I wanted more community input, and the structure of this capital committee, I asked for a board to be, or a committee rather, to be appointed to assist me with the preparation of that annual plan. The structure that the board passed, the previous board passed, basically does that. It assigns a committee of 5 people to meet with me and the different department heads and to seek input from the community at large to inform our capital plan on a 5-year and annual basis. I think that there's been a lot of feeling, I think, by some people that something is trying to be gotten out of this, or that there's somebody's trying to create influence or have a certain outcome, and the only outcome is my outcome, which is to create a capital plan that the community can buy into, that the community can support. The capital plan will still have to be my plan, with the assistance of the capital committee and the department heads. I think we're adding in a layer of transparency, a layer of community input and buy-in that will help us make a plan that more people will be able to support, as opposed to wondering if we're doing the right things. Capital plan includes all the things that we've talked about as far as town hall building committee or roads, water department, but also things when we talk about buying land to protect the public trails. That's got to be considered as part of a capital program, because that's our resources, spending capital to purchase those things. We get stuck as a committee and as a town manager with people coming to us and asking us to look at one thing at a time, and they all have good reasons. They're all valid. They're all valid things that need to be taken care of. We have to break out of the cycle of considering those things on a one-off because it leaves us vulnerable to finding a long-term funding mechanism.
Yes, I agree. And in fact, the FinCom 2 years ago suggested a capital committee. My concern was that it was going to be broad enough and open enough and transparent enough so that the people could trust the outcome.
Let me ask you a question. So we have a 5-member committee.
You currently have a 5-member
And we
committee.
have 7 people who want to be involved. Can these other 2 people go to meetings, or is the meetings closed meetings?
No, they're public meetings.
Exactly, right.
You could vote to expand the membership and add 2 more people if you want. I see no problem with that. I don't mind buy-in. I just don't.
Right.
You currently have a 5-member committee. The previous board voted to establish it. Rather than vote to break something up that hasn't even begun yet, and question whether, how it's going to play out. If the board wanted to consider adding 2 more people, I've got no problem with that. All the people that applied are good people. They have good ideas.
Yeah.
My point is just that we'd like to get them started.
Right, exactly. I don't want to take away from anybody who wants to volunteer and work on it, so.
Unfortunately, we're already at a space where, the town hall building project is moving along. We're going to have to consider that in kind of a due course. But beyond that, I want everything else to be considered as part of the whole, looking ahead. And the earlier we can get these folks started on their charge, the better it will be for all of us. Maybe this doesn't have to be an either or. You bring up a good point. You've got 7 people that have applied for 5 spots. Make the committee 7 people.
Well, let's get back to the issue that one of these members was from the standpoint of ethics was appointed prematurely, and that's why we had the one open here. So I want to make sure that we address that issue. And this is one person's opinion. There are other opinions, and I think that it's rather upsetting that this arrives 30 seconds before we're to have a vote. And, I'm sorry, let me just finish my comment here. There are differing opinions, and this sort of addresses a whole bunch of things without making drawing one opinion. So I vote, I submit that we go along with the appointing a committee member as we had planned to do, and then perhaps at another time, we could think about expanding the group. The Board of Selectmen does appoint this group, and so we need to consider that, and I don't want to embark upon any ethics violations. I don't want it to be back and forth. It was clear that when a committee member is appointed by a particular body that would have some supervision over them in one way or another, can appoint or remove, that's not something that should be done until 30 days after. So let's not lose sight of the issue that we're here about tonight.
I mean, once again, one person's opinion, I would disagree. I would say it's pretty clear that we spent time, voted, put a committee together. We don't need to remove a committee that hasn't even met yet. And so we need to get them working. It's not under our supervision. You should read the committee papers that were created. It's not under our supervision.
Who appoints the Board of Selectmen appoints it. So I
We're
think
allowed to
that's
appoint committee members that aren't under our
clear.
supervision.
The Board of Selectmen appoints committee members, and
We're allowed to do that, yes.
yes, that's right. And
That's what we
so there's an issue with the type of appointment that was done, not against the person, but against the situation. It's not allowable. And we can argue this until we're blue in the face. We can get another opinion. We can call the State Ethics Commission if we would like to, but I strongly advocate for going along with our intended appointment of a capital committee member tonight.
I think the issue is a 30-day cooling off period. I think we've passed that period now. And my opinion is we've appointed somebody, it may have been prematurely before the cooling off period.
Right.
But that person didn't do any ethics violation. He hasn't had a meeting yet. And we haven't said that he is off the committee. So in my mind, he's still on the committee.
Well, it was an improper appointment, so he is not on the committee. Because it did violate the 30-day cooling off period. That's the issue.
And not only that, it's on tape that you rewarded the individual. You can't do that. You can't reward an individual for hard work. That's called self-dealing, and it's Ethics 101, state law. You just can't do that. And because there hasn't been a lot of applicants, it just seemed like it was in the bag.
Right. So
For that individual,
and
without looking or discussing.
And having that 30-day cooling off period, we have other great candidates that we should consider.
This is a member of the community that does nothing but donate his time and volunteer his time for this community.
All of us do that.
Yeah, so, and we voted. I mean, I will make a motion right now, make a motion that we vote Scott Matter into the committee. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I think if you vote yes, you're going to be making another ethical mistake. And I think people at home are listening and they're watching. So go ahead.
Okay. All right, then all those in favor for Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and all those opposed? Okay, are there any other nominations?
I believe we have two.
Yes,
Yeah.
Two great nominations.
Okay.
We
Would
have,
anybody like to nominate?
Heather Ford. I'd like to nominate Heather Ford, who's been a terrific advocate in our community. She's chair of the Hamilton Foundation. Had a great conversation with her. I didn't even know her before I started to speak with her. She's also, she has run that program since 2005. She's an engineer. She has been involved in multi-million-dollar projects. She's a team player. She what else can I tell you about her? She's been a local proponent of Girl Scouts. She's been a vice president, startup, innovative, bioremediation, whatever that is. But she's vice president of engineering and science. She's a legislative fellow. She's the managing director of STEM programs. She was on the board of Hamilton Board of Public Works. She was a Hamilton Selectman. It just goes on and on. She's been a mentor and career guidance for several persons. She's just got so many accolades. The Hamilton Outstanding Committee, Community Citizen Award, National Society of Professional Engineers Outstanding Engineer Award. I mean, she's a stellar candidate.
I second your motion.
For Heather Ford, okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor for Heather Ford? Capcom, okay. All right, all those opposed? Again. All right.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. All right, thank you.
It's Heather. I like Heather.
Yeah, just I don't disagree. I disagree with the process this went through. So we'll go on. For people listening at home, I disagree. We did something wrong here. We appointed somebody to a position that we were ethically allowed to do, and I don't agree with the way they were removed from that position. I think it's a bad sign for volunteers in this town. We think they can volunteer a position and be removed because a new elected officials take office.
That happens all the time.
So.
Oh,
Not in this town.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Joe kind of a
Sure,
clarifying question?
yeah,
right now?
of course.
So I serve on the CPC. I'm a voting member. I've been appointed to the CPC, but I'm on the select board. How does that work?
I'm not a legal expert on that. I'll say that.
I'm just curious because it looks like we took this and kind of threw it out a little
but that's permissible. That's permissible, Sean. That's the difference.
Explain it to me then, I guess.
you were transparent.
How was it not transparent?
Well,
Come on.
our
And I'd like to know.
yeah,
more.
no, I understand that. So our bylaws.
Sorry, Rosie.
I'm sorry, please.
You had said,
Because you rewarded him it's on tape. You can't do that. And people can go back and look at it and look at it and look at it. You can't do that. It just, even if you didn't mean it that way, it has an appearance.
Yeah, we don't care about appearance.
And the appearance of a conflict of interest is just as if it were a conflict of interest. Those are things, we all signed the ethical documents for the state.
We're always complimentary of people when we appoint them.
Nobody's perfect.
But Darcy, we always compliment people when we appoint them to a position. We brag about how good of a job they did, just like we bragged about this lovely woman.
I don't understand why you're so emotionally involved.
Because we voted somebody in. It's for every volunteer in town that now sees they can be removed from a position.
You were not allowed to do that back then.
Our attorney thinks we were.
Well,
our town council thinks we were allowed to do that ethically.
Then we'll get
That's a difference of opinion.
So now you've chosen to go against our town council, which is, once again, we've gone against our town council, and we've removed a volunteer from a position. I think those two things are just a bad sign.
I was actually going to say, I heard that there were building permit fees that are also languishing in-house because people aren't getting their checks cashed in time. It's like 2 months. So I just was going to ask if you could check that up.
That's a whole separate.
Building permit fees that are languishing, where?
When you write your building permit fee,
Yeah.
the checks aren't getting back to the,
Mr. Chair, maybe under new business.
Okay.
Or a side conversation with Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry, is this the same issue or a different issue? I'm confused.
Different.
Different.
Okay, sorry.
It was just
Not on the
an
agenda.
aside that,
Okay.
money.
All right.
Anyways, we can
Maybe
move on.
new
I made my
business.
point, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, the next item here is the Wetlands Protection Bylaw Proposal, presentation and discussion. Is that?
So I'm not going to make a full presentation tonight. What I am going to say is I've had so many people come forward and talk with me about their ideas. In fact, Ann Giroux, in conjunction with the MVP, Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness, boy, she wants to help. There's some money available to write bylaws. Gradle Clark, our newest Concom member, would be willing to help. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to back off from that right at this moment. My goal is absolutely still to get a revision of our conservation bylaw, AKA wetlands protection, enhanced wetland protection. The revision of that up and ready for fall town meeting. The reason being, I think it's important that we attend to these issues now. I'm very much for the MVP, and I'm terribly on board with that. One of the people who has offered to help me mentioned that there are a lot of vacancies at Town Hall, and maybe right now that's not going to be on the front burner, and so I would like to see some temporary or permanent measure enhancement to our conservation bylaw. And I apologize for blocking time. I've just had all these people come forward who wanted to help, and I'm very grateful for their offers, and I look forward to working with them.
Great, okay.
So I'm sorry, Rosie, do you have any draft at the moment, or you're just in preliminary stage? I just saw it said presentations.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry about that. So what I do have is the MACC, Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions, and I have their non-zoning wetland protection bylaw ordinance. It's the model bylaw, and I've looked through it a couple of times and was starting to make some changes on it, and then I got the offers for all this help, and my goal is to do it right so that everybody, it's a win-win for our town, and include as many people as possible. So thank you for asking, and I will, if
I was going to say, could you email that to me?
I will, absolutely. Would you like, I'll send it.
You send it to everybody, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then, Mr. Chair, just as a point of clarification, I'm fine with reviewing this and everything like that, but I would assume this is a Board of Selectmen to bring forward the town meeting. So I think at some point we'd want to vote that we support it. So we'll let Rosie do her due diligence on it, and then we'll get to that point.
And if any of you would like to work on it as well, it would be great. I know that you're working with compost and
Yeah.
conservation, maybe you would like to pitch in. I
Yeah, let me
welcome.
see that, and we'll see it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's been successful in other.
Exactly, yes. I also have, I'll just speak for one more moment. So the town of Wendell was the latest town. 197 towns have instituted versions of this bylaw, and it's mostly towns that have a lot of wetlands, like Hamilton. I think almost 50% of our town land is wetlands, so it behooves us to be careful about this, and I welcome anybody's input and make this a team effort. Okay, thank you.
All right, great. All right, thank you, Rosie. And good point, Sean. Yeah, we'll have to make sure it's a board initiative that we all want. The next item is the draft town meeting calendars.
Yeah, so you have those there. These are just for your, obviously, to start the conversation. This isn't going to be saying this is what it should be, but, to Darcy and other folks had mentioned that they wanted to see a little bit more, transparent process for how things get on the warrants and how they get approved, and that we have all the information when the warrant gets organized and the FinCom works on their book of recommendations and things. So this is a calendar. You have one on the front side, annual calendar, and the rear side is the special town meeting calendar. So now that we know at your last meeting, you authorized me to identify either the 19th or the 26th as special town meeting date. We have reserved the high school for October 19th, as you had requested. So you can work backwards from that date. But the big things to pay attention to for the special town meeting coming up is public hearings on zoning ordinance, for instance, should happen by the end of June. I've already had a discussion with the planning director about this. He's going to make the planning board aware of it, but he doesn't perceive any zoning ordinances coming forward at this special town meeting. So, we'd have to build into the calendar time to have draft warrant language and financial articles by the beginning of July, things like that. So, open to suggestions, comment, changes, amendments. Yes.
I have a comment. I would like to see the town institute some sort of full disclosure about anything that we're putting forward, any bylaws, the pros and cons of a capital project or any kind of a financial project. I think that would be really helpful, and also residents can prepare for the town meeting ahead of time and maybe come with questions instead of a long debate.
We talked about that pros and cons thing, which I think makes sense. I was going to say a sample of it. I think you said some town does it to get a sample of it.
Ipswich. Oh, that's right.
And then it's, I don't know who does the cons, because it's kind of hard to do the cons. So it's like, but I understand what you're saying. I think it's a good idea. We just need to decide who's going to draft the cons.
Well, we can look at both sides.
Yeah.
We can be objective.
Yeah.
You and I can do it.
Right. But I think it's a good idea. I think we should figure out how it's
Right.
how it's
And
done.
you got to figure out who's going to fact check everything,
Yeah.
right? So.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's really opinion, right? This is our opinion that a positive vote for this would lead to X and a negative vote would lead to Y, because
I mean, it may be more nuanced than that. I think it depends on what the warrant.
well, I promise this time I'll get a copy of Ipswich. I've been busy selecting. I apologize.
No, it's all good stuff. So we'll get to it.
So I will make sure that I get a copy. I apologize,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, and to my fellow board members.
It'll be interesting to see who puts that together. I think it's their FinCom in Ipswich
Yeah.
that puts their book together.
Which I think that was, the effort at having the FinCom make their book of recommendations was to do something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which I think the FinCom did a really good job with this year at the annual. With the information that they had, obviously. That's part of the reason for changing the timeline here, or making some more definition on dates, is to give the FinCom and the board more time to have votes with as much information as possible.
So you're saying you would like the FinCom to do that as opposed to?
I don't want to put anything on the FinCom. I certainly don't want them coming with.
Yeah. I would say I would
Towards the pitchfork
invite
for
them
me.
to
I'm not looking to add word
participate
to
and
that,
give their opinion,
plate,
maybe.
But,
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at the sample, and then we can see how in-depth it needs to be.
Yeah.
If it's just simple sentences or bullet points, or if it's a whole paragraph, or...
Yeah.
Or it's an in-depth analysis
Yeah.
with citations, that we
Right.
draw the line at that. Okay, fair enough.
Mr. Chair, may I add it may be kind of a new business comment, but it's pertinent to the calendar here. We have a citizens petition. We've worked really hard to kind of make it more transparent and easy for citizens to do a citizens petition. I still think we have an issue with the way we do the citizens petition, that I think they can pretty much bring it in the day that we're printing the warrant.
What I've been told.
Right? And so I can't remember if that's a Board of Selectmen policy or moderator policy, but I'd like to, on new business, revisit that and get some kind of a hard stop in the calendar so that it can be reviewed by town council or whoever else is involved, and it's to make sure that we have the proper language, because in the past we've had issues with language and it's been a problem.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely get an opinion as to how that can be changed. 'Cause
Right.
I certainly think that if the opinion that we've gotten is that can happen, I know that doesn't happen in other places, so I would think that either with a town meeting vote or some measure.
Yeah, I'm
we
not
could-
sure
we
if
could
it's a
get it
policy or
changed so
town
that we
meeting
have
vote, whatever it requires. It'd be
kinda-
nice to have a little more lead time on it. So.
Excellent, okay. And then it'd probably be good to run this by FinCom, right, to make sure.
I'll share it with them after I share.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
To let them know.
And
Work away from them.
Let them know what they're up.
Yeah, and the planning board. I know Patrick's aware of it for the
Okay, yeah.
for hearings and stuff like that, but it'd be good to share it with him if we haven't yet.
I'll if you guys are satisfied with this as a
yeah, I'm okay with it.
Starting point, I'll share it to the FinCom and Planning Board and ask for their feedback, or not too much feedback. We don't want everybody trying to change. You're setting the policy here, so. But we'll ask if they have any concerns. Let us be aware of it. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can I add one more thing, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, sure.
That just is kind of put Joe the task a little bit. Maybe just check on these dates with the schools and stuff like that to make sure that we're not building a calendar that we can't have a town meeting on the date we want to have the town meeting on.
Well, we have the date for the special.
Yeah.
And then the annual is set in your.
Right, it's set every year, but
so-
sometimes we have conflict with the schools. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
I did some dates here, but for the town meeting in October, we only have 5 meetings between now and when we close the warrant.
Right.
Well,
Okay, so-
can't we have an extra meeting if we need to?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
you're right,
FinCom
but-
used to do,
yeah,
and that's
but-
how we got stuff done.
But in theory,
Worked.
that's, we're 12
good.
weeks away
Good.
through the summer.
Fast.
Which is even harder
Really?
with summer schedule, so.
It's amazing.
We just gotta work hard to make sure we identify early on what we wanna put on there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And be flexible. Be prepared to be flexible.
We'll have dinner meetings, potluck dinners.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you, Joe. And then the next item was to kind of review, update town manager goals, and the idea, I think, was because we do have new members of the board, and for the old members of the board, I think it was a good point in time just to kind of refresh our memories about what Joe's goals are, I should say, and just have discussion about that.
I mean, if you can indulge me for a second, and
Sure.
I'm sure the three longer-serving members of the board will correct me if I'm wrong, but the document you have in front of you was created at a kind of a joint meeting with the board and myself in November, shortly after this special town meeting in the fall. It outlined, 5 what they referred to as critical functions of the town manager and 5 kind of goals for the coming year. So those are what I'm working on now. The 5 goals at the bottom are, I tend to try to provide updates to you when things have changed with each town manager report at each meeting. And the others are kind of part of my job, budget presentation and communication and outreach and such. So those are things that I continue to work on a daily basis with the department heads and staff in town hall and all the other town departments. So open to feedback and such that you want to provide. Always looking to get better. Hope you won't go ahead and change it too dramatically before.
No, I mean, I think the only thing missing is that you have your duties, you have your, proactive stuff, right? what we kind of miss, and maybe I'll add at the bottom myself, is the reactive stuff. I mean, you deal with stuff that wasn't on the plan, wasn't on your day-to-day plan, wasn't on your, and I think you've done a good job with reacting to a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna add that note to the bottom. So the react. I mean, people retiring, they weren't supposed to, they didn't. So that's a big, it's a big thing. You weren't able to plan some stuff because you were short-staffed. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that note to the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good
We're working
point.
on it, we'll just work through it. That's essentially what the role of a town manager or a town administrator in a different form of government would be, is to manage that day-to-day stuff so that the board can focus on the bigger policy issues.
The big picture reactionary stuff.
And, the general direction of the town,
Is there a timeline that you want? Is there any?
So I think that the understanding when we did this was that I'd be reviewed annually around the time of, not November, like this would come up probably August, September, coming up on a year.
Yes, 1 year.
So that, at that point, I've been here maybe 11 months, but at least you'd have a body of work to look at and, gives you a couple more months.
What was the date, sorry? Date are we looking?
I started September 4th, so sometime.
We hired him in August, so
Yeah.
we could go from
Between August and-
contract date and put a window in there somewhere for the evaluation tool.
Okay.
August, September.
It's up to you folks to determine, kind of the tool that you want to use to judge these issues, these 10 criteria, but I'm happy to work with you to.
That'd be great. Yeah, not to have to reinvent the wheel and come up with a whole new system. Yeah, that'd be great.
Right, and we have a previous kind of evaluation tool that we've used and modified over the years. It's different from this, but this works too. But I think at some point before we get to the review process for Joe, that we look at the old tool and look at this and kind of see if we want to do some kind of mashup or a new and improved version, something like that. I think the first evaluation tool that we used maybe 5 years ago, I think, there was some question that, Jeff, you can probably remember, where it was asking about the previous town manager, and it was, did he wear his hard hat at the job site?
Right.
Questions like that. It was day-to-day operation stuff that we as an executive board have no idea unless we're interviewing staff personally. So there are some things that are a little wonky in there. We tried to trim some of that stuff out, but I think a lot of it's still relevant. And I think, and then another kind of a workshop like we do at the public safety building, and think about future goals and stuff like that, and maybe even a check-in with Joe, or maybe a presentation at a board selectmen meeting before the August deadline comes up to kind of say where he is on stuff would be helpful, because in the past we've done personal interviews with the town manager and then done our evaluation. So most of the board of selectmen would sit down with the town manager for an hour or so and kind of go through the goals and answer any questions or any outlying things that they were thinking about, and then fill out the evaluation form from there. And in the past, we've compiled it. The chair would compile it, or I think I compiled it 1 year when I wasn't the chair. And you kind of hit the most common denominators and then presented that into one evaluation. And I think since then, some of the municipal reporting laws have changed, so I think we have to report all the evaluations if we do it that way. So we should look at that and make sure that we're on the up and up with the new reporting laws, that everything that needs to be out there is out there. That's just all my 2 cents, really.
Good. All right. Does anybody have any questions on these, any of the goals, or need any further explanation?
I think Joe's been doing a good job. I see him working hard on all the goals.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed, even single-handedly.
I'm not sure that what for goals, were you simply referring to what he's just gone over?
Virginia, just say who you are.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Just say who you are, Virginia.
Oh, yeah, I'm me. No. Virginia Cookson, 318 Forest Street. Okay. I just drove down, so I missed between things, so I'm not sure at which point you started with the goals, and I just was wondering whether the goals also included the comments that Rosemary made about improvements for the Wetlands Protection Act and stuff like that, or whether that's a separate issue, in which case I'll just sit right back down.
So if I can answer Virginia's question there, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't say that it won't, because we're going to have, I would assume we're going to have another kind of a workshop meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Where we talk amongst us for our kind of personal goals, Joe's goals, the whole overall arching kind of goals. And if we all decide that that's kind of one of our top priorities,
then it goes on. Okay. I'll just sit down. Sorry to bother.
Not at all. We're glad to see you.
All right. We are at new business.
I prepared a little list of things that have been mentioned to me by you all at different times, and there's certainly room to add more. If you
So
could.
glad you're keeping track.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Some stuff just comes into the office too and needs to be addressed, so I wanted to make sure I get that stuff in front of you. You'll notice in here originally, when we tried to set the agenda for this meeting, you had a thing to talk to celebrate the intern in the police department. Because of a conflict in Chief Stevens' agenda, he asked me to take that off and asked that you put it back on for June 3rd.
Okay.
It's up to you, but he has asked for that consideration. Lieutenant James, when he asked for it to be put on the agenda, wasn't aware or wasn't, he didn't check schedules with the chief. The chief is away at a conference this week, so
Gotcha.
he has always spoken about the interns and wanted to be sure to be able to have that opportunity again. He didn't want to slight the young man, so he asked for it to move, if you can, move it, so.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for this list.
No problem. Add stuff to the bottom too, as you want. I'll take handwritten notes and keep adding on, so.
Yeah, CPC would be good. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to this list? It's a good list.
I had four things.
Four? Okay.
I mean, we already talked about was the water waste reduction.
I wrote that on here. I wrote that on mine already after you said that earlier. So.
Number two was, we talked about early on, like sort of going on what Darcy had said, but I think it's important on this water thing to get the real facts out there. We've done a lot of good work, but I almost think it'd be worth getting a cost proposal to have a third party come in and just assess and do a report, not just internal, but an external report and say, this is what we've done to date. This is sort of the now, the 5-year and the 20-year plan, and kind of get a master plan for water. I think is important.
I think that's a good idea.
I think we are at the point now where I think we're stable, but we need to look ahead a little bit. So there's some stuff on yours, but I really think we should look at a third party and need some proposal how much that would cost. Number three was in sort of my inclusionary discussion we had before, but I think that, I think Heather Ford was going to be great on the Capcom, but I think we had 3 other really good. So I think we should talk about, I really hate telling volunteers they can't volunteer for something they want to do, so we need to find out how to get them involved. So we should talk about whether we make it a bigger committee or how we can get them involved in that. And then the fourth thing was, I'd asked for a joint Wenham meeting. They're doing some things that will affect us between traffic and school committee and things like that.
You want a joint Board of Selectmen's meeting?
Yeah.
In addition to, okay.
Yeah.
The BOS or the school committee?
I think Board of Selectmen for me, but I think maybe there should be other joint meetings too, but for us, I'm more interested in Board of Selectmen.
I think that's a good idea.
Great.
We need to work together, and there's things that we're doing, and we should just share that information every once in a while, so.
Yeah.
Any ideas where we'd want to hold a joint Board of Selectmen meeting?
The library?
Library, and
Yeah, library is probably the best place.
Yeah.
do you want to use one of your existing upcoming meeting dates? Or
Yeah.
do you want to?
They meet on,
You meet on Tuesdays.
They meet on a Tuesday, so.
yeah, I'd be flexible Monday. Planning board's on Tuesdays, but we can, those were the 4 I had.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
May I add one to that?
Yeah.
The Patton Ridge folks, I forwarded an email today about their trash pickup, but that leads into not just, I mean, Patton Ridge is kind of the spearhead of this, but we have a much greater discussion about policy with our kind of plowed, not plowed, paved, not paved, private way, trash pickup, compost. I mean, it's a much broader complete streets discussion that we need to iron out.
Okay.
It's a lot of moving parts there, so that's going to be kind of a bear of an issue, but it's going to take some research from some town hall staff, and I want to make sure that whatever we're doing with it, that we're being as efficient as we can with town hall staff, because I think there's got to be some research into some deeds and stuff like that on some of the developments and pricing and contracts with Casella and et cetera.
It's a big project.
Yeah.
Need to get up to staff. Need to-
All right. Darcy, did you have anything?
I can't think right now.
Okay.
So I thought I'd just email you
Okay.
if I think of anything.
I have one question
Jeff,
on
rather.
going off of what he said about staffing, related to that, but Tim was approved to hire someone. When does that happen? Is that going?
He's advertising for it now. He's already received about 20 applicants.
Wow.
It'll be posted till the end of May. He's hoping to use June to interview candidates and have somebody in place.
Are there
to
internal
go.
candidates too? Possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly. Okay.
Good answer.
Well, we're trying to help promote growth. within that.
Certainly there are certainly there are people within the department now who would be qualified
Yep.
based on what how the position was posted, and we'll see if they put their name in. That's, I don't want to mess with the pool, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's your.
External candidates, good. Oh.
Good. Rosie, did you have anything?
My goal would be to get that wetlands group working by the next meeting. Actually, I'm not going to be here for the next meeting, so I think the meeting after, so need to get moving on that.
Okay.
And I also need to get...
All right. Excellent.
Could I, just real quickly, if you don't mind indulging me, I wanted to let you all know officially, I'm going to use some vacation and personal time on Fridays in June and July. It's in the town manager report, so the folks will be able to read that online as well, but just to let you know. This is the time of year where travel lacrosse, club lacrosse comes up, and my son is involved in the travel team, and we wind up traveling all over New England. I've got to go to Long Island in June, and then the Cape, and then Stowe, Vermont, and Newport, Rhode Island.
Sounds like fun.
So we're, generally those are weekend trips. We try to get away on Fridays so that we beat the traffic and we can get the kids settled in and everything else. And because we drag my younger one along on it, we try to make it a little bit more family time. Fridays are, we go out to dinner, we use time in the pool, because Saturday and Sunday is all going to be about watching the older one play lacrosse. So I have the time to take, and I will be available by email and phone. Obviously, if there's an emergency, I'll always respond. And we're only open 4 hours on Fridays anyway, so I figure it's not that big a deal for me to use a little bit of vacation time to do that. But we're not going to let anything slip through the cracks. We'll continue to work and get everything done.
Well, the town manager needs downtime too.
Right now, I'm more worried about some of the folks that we have working in the town hall that have been working short-staffed and in short departments for a long time. We got a lot of positions to fill, and we got a lot of work to do to fill those, and that's my focus right now is on those things. So.
Are we allowed to put on the on our posted agenda the anticipated next meeting date at the bottom, where it says consideration out for future meeting? Are you allowed to put the dates? That's what you said on the planning board.
We can do that. You've approved, at the last meeting, you approved the schedule for the next 6 months, so you're...
That's a good idea.
Next,
Yeah.
but we can
Planning
add
board, we
that,
should do that, and just let people who are here know,
Right,
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, anticipated meeting date.
I would just do one, I wouldn't do a bunch, I would just do that.
Right,
because
Next
things
meeting
change.
date?
Yeah, it's the 3rd, or our next meeting, and then the
So that wouldn't, that allows people to think
That's
like,
a good
oh, am I
idea.
here or not?
Thanks, Bill. So, because Monday is a holiday, and it'll be, we want to make sure we still try to get these out earlier. You'll see that. I know, I think I amended the agenda 4 times this week because I'm also short-staffed.
curve, right?
I'm also short-staffed, and I'm trying to learn other things.
So I think,
But we'll try not to do that this time. What I'll do is I'll try to get all these ideas. I'll go over it with Jeff. I'll put a bunch of them into the next agenda and send it to Jeff and Rose. Jeff and Rose for your review, and then before Tuesday, you'll have a look at it, and you can start to say, we want to keep the meeting to a manageable amount of time, so let's move these ones off or move these ones in.
Okay.
And we'll adjust based on that.
Yeah, Sean.
Can I make a last minute announcement? It's an easy one.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I had forgotten, and you didn't mention it, that the town hall building survey is on the website now. So if you're listening at home and you're still with us, pass the word. The survey is on the website. It's basically about the future town hall, what kind of options we're looking for.
There's a meeting on
Wednesday.
All boards meeting.
All boards
Big
meeting.
one.
Committees meeting. It will be all boards and committees except for the Concom, which Virginia was good enough to tell me today is also happening at the same time. But she doesn't think their meeting's going to last that long, so they'll come down, I hope, afterwards. And
They're super
and be
efficient,
heard.
so.
If you want me, because I did this for the FinCom, if you would like me to type all this and get it all in there and then, get it into the...
That's fine, I can send you the template.
So, yeah, send me the template.
And you have all these ideas, so.
Yes. And, yeah. Well, what I would do is I would list them, send them to you, you could okay them, or Jeff, or whomever, and then send it back to me, and I'll get it in there before the
Great. I'll send
OML violations.
I'll send you a template tomorrow. We also have draft minutes for the next meeting, so you'll have an item for minutes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent.
Don't forget, clerk has to sign the minutes.